longstanding heritage of Air Force Space Command, where we were known as Guardians of the High Frontier.
Thank you. Let me just to get a sort of an update, which you provided. Where are you now in terms of end strength of the Space Force? How many personnel, civilian and uniformed, and where do you expect that to go in the next couple of years?
Yes, sir. Today, our end strength stands in, I'll say, three categories. The first is uniformed military members. Today is about 6,400 members. About 6,000 of those transferred into the Air Force or transferred in from the Air Force in the last year. We're in the process now of bringing in inter-service transfers from the Army and the Navy as well. We have about 6,000 civilians assigned to the Space Force as well. Like the Department of the Navy, all U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps civilians are Department of the Navy civilians, but 6,000 of those civilians are specifically assigned to the Air Force. I'm sorry, to the Space Force.
And how's recruiting? Are you? I know that General Raymond, I think, is at the Air Force Academy today. I have a feeling he's also fishing for top graduates for the Space Force.
Yes, sir, he is. In fact, today, 218 members of the class of 2021 from the Air Force Academy joined the Space Force. That includes the top 2 graduates in the graduating class. So our recruiting has not been a challenge. Our challenge has been ensuring that we find the right set of high caliber officers, enlisted and civilians, to join the force.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, you mentioned there's one treaty for space that goes back to 1967. And one of the things you mentioned in your testimony was norms and standards. Where do we stand on trying to establish international norms? What are the bodies that are working on that? Are we taking a leadership role? Is there any interest in the other spacefaring countries like Russia and China in trying to establish some kind of rules of the road for space?
Yes, Senator King. So the treaty you referred to, the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, is how it is known. It is one of 4 that the United States is a member of, but that's the fundamental bedrock treaty in the international space law. And with respect to what we're focused on today in non-binding voluntary standards, first place I would point to is there is a Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space as part of the United Nations organizations. That's actually the organization that originally created the Outer Space Treaty. But that is the organization that has developed the debris mitigation standards that are in use today, guidelines on space sustainability that were produced a few years ago, 21 guidelines that came out of really a users consensus group of commercial and government, civil, military that participate in that. Slow processes in the United Nations took about 10 years to do that. And a lot of these things have to do with simple facts of what certain information.
How about don't blow up satellites?
Well, there's a good one.
And leave the debris.
And don't leave the debris all over the place. And when you get in the military world, that is clearly one of the ones that people are looking at is how do you.
So are there active discussions of is this a live process or is it moribund?
Within the arms control world, there are proposals, but what tends to be proposals is the United States has pushed that very, very point. What gets pushed back is proposals such as Russia and China saying, we won't be the first to put weapons in space. Well, as we've noticed, noted in many places, Russia and China have tested weapons in space. Russia tested one near one of our satellites just a few years ago. So that's when I refer to the disingenuous proposals of saying, we won't be the first nation to put a weapon in space. Don't mind our satellite that's near one of your satellites that might be testing weapons. So the process is easier when you're dealing with the basic peacetime types of operations. It's obviously much harder when you get to something like the example you offered, sir.
Thank you. We'll have a second round. Ms. Costello will talk about acquisition. Senator Fisher.